Good afternoon, guys. So this week, remember, we're going to be talking about our planet Earth and celebrating Earth Day. So we're going to be talking about ways that we can help preserve and take care of the Earth, or conserve too. So we have a special book to read today. Yesterday, we read about Wangari, remember, and she saved all the trees in Kenya. She replanted all these forests and made a huge difference. So today we're going to learn about professions. And another word for profession is a job. So professions that save the planet. So these people's jobs are put there just to help us save the planet in different ways. All right, so on our table of content on number 1, we're going to talk about our introduction. On number 2, we're going to talk about food scientist. 3, meteorologist, which meteorologist means to study weather. 4, conservation scientist, which we're going to learn what that is. 5, marine biologist. 6, urban planners. And then on page 7, environmental engineers. And then page 8, we have a glossary in case some of the words we don't know. So, do you love science? There are so many interesting things to learn about, from weather to plants to stars and so much more. Do you know what we need? Our world needs big thinkers, compassionate hearts, that means caring hearts, and innovative minds that want to focus their energy on helping the planet. For now, you can just focus on creating, experimenting, playing, falling, failing, building, succeeding, and researching. In a few years, when you are ready to think about careers, keep these science-focused jobs in mind. Like we already mentioned, our world needs you. All right, so let's look at our first job, food scientist. First up for possible careers, we have food scientist. Food scientists can specialize in many different fields. They can focus on the packaging side of food. This means they study how to keep food fresh when it is shipped to grocery stores. The packaging needs to be durable. Durable means that it's really strong, but we don't want it to leave behind a ton of trash either. Food scientists can also specialize in how fruits and vegetables are grown and make sure it is safe for humans. So that means that we want to make sure that we're not putting anything on the food that's going to harm us too. In this area, they also want to figure out how to leave the soil healthy and full of nutrients after the produce is harvested. So we don't want to take all those nutrients out of the soil to where it doesn't work. Scientists can help advise or tell farmers their techniques that let them grow their crops with putting as few chemicals in the soil as possible. So they have to think about ways for us to get the food we need, but we don't use things that are going to harm us or harm the earth either. Meteorologist. Meteorologists study and predict the weather and climate. They can have different jobs, from daily weather predictions, those are like your weathermen that you see on the news, to research in regards to the atmosphere. The atmosphere is the air that surrounds the earth and acts like a big blanket. Remember, that big blanket of air is what keeps us warm at night, and then also make sure that we don't lose too much air. And that atmosphere also helps us breathe, because we need the atmosphere. Because remember, some of the places we can't breathe that if it didn't have the atmosphere that we do. Meteorologists notice patterns in the weather that are caused by temperature changes in the water and in the air. If meteorologists are able to accurately predict a storm or a drought, they can help people prepare in a manner that has as little loss as possible. A drought or a large hurricane could be devastating to people, so damage control is crucial. Remember, these are really important, especially in the spring here. Our meteorologists tell us if it's going to be storming and if we need to make sure that we take cover or find a safe place for when we have some storms. Conservation scientist. Conservation scientists are also referred to as foresters. We learned about some foresters in that book from Kenya yesterday, remember? They usually have degrees in biology and are trained to manage the natural resources in the forest. They focus on the forest ecosystem and study the plants and animals within it. They will take notes on how human activity impacts the forest by looking at the changes that have occurred. Conservation scientists may help companies plan the best way to clear land if it is needed, but they also work to create protected areas such as parks that you can go and enjoy the green space. So they take care of parks, but they also, what they want to make sure is they keep track of what we are doing to the areas in the parks. So for example, if we're cutting down too many trees and certain animals are losing their habitats or have no place to live, that's what they're going to take note of and help people try to think of other ways so that those animals do have a place to live. Marine biologist. Marine biologists study all kinds of life, big and small, in oceans and other bodies of salt water. By looking at very small animals like plankton, these scientists can get a good idea of how healthy the ocean is. That means how clean it is. If the ocean is out of balance, it can throw off the whole planet. Marine biologists also study large ocean animals like sharks. Humans kill between 30 to 70 million sharks a year for sport or out of fear. That is a ton of sharks. Our ocean needs these apex predators. Apex predators means the top of the food chain. They're the thing that hunts everything else in the ocean. Scientists have observed that when the shark populations are down, large fish overpopulate. That means there's too many and eat all the small fish. When the small fish aren't around to eat the algae off the coral reef, the reef is smothered. Marine biologists are incredibly important because their research gives us information that helps push people to take care of our oceans. So every part of the animals that live in the oceans are important. If we don't have enough sharks, they don't eat the bigger fish. And then the bigger fish eat too many small fish. And then the small fish don't eat the algae that then makes the water and the different coral really sick. So all of those animals are needed to keep our oceans clean and healthy. Urban planners. Urban planners use different sciences in their professions, such as engineering and environmental sciences. Their goal is to help cities and smaller communities create long-range plans for where they put buildings, parks, neighborhoods, bridges, and roads. If there is no plan, then the community can grow too quickly and cause a lot of traffic or overcrowding. The long-term consequence, remember that's a reaction of a bad plan, usually means a lot of pollution or damage to our natural resources, like our rivers or our beaches. Not only do urban planners need to be great scientists, but they also need to have compassion towards the earth and people. So if they don't put a plan, then that means that everything can get really polluted and it won't be a nice place to live. They have to think about everything. And then environmental engineers. An engineer uses science and math to solve problems. An environmental engineer works to solve problems concerning our earth. Specifically, they work on waste removal. That's when you throw stuff away, recycling, and pollution control for water and air. An environmental engineer might be called in to help come up with a better system for treating wastewater. They also work with factories to reduce the hazardous gases. So those are the gases that we don't want to breathe that are being put in the air. One example, they can give advice on the best way to dispose or get rid of our garbage and all the things related to our landfills. Think of environmental engineers as superheroes battling the powers of pollution. All right, and then in our glossary, these are some of those terms that we heard that we kind of went over. An apex predator is the animal at the top of the food chain, right? So in the ocean, it's a shark. They're kind of at the top of the food chain. Consequence, remember, is the reaction to something. Crucial means very, very, very important. Dispose of means to get rid of. So we dispose of our trash, we get rid of it. Hazardous means poisonous or dangerous, and then overpopulate means too many people or buildings in an area, or we talked about that the fish might overpopulate the ocean, the smaller fish, and that means there's too many of them. Okay. All right. So what you're going to do is I'm going to make sure these slides are in Seesaw, and what you're going to do is you're going to go back and I want you to tell me about some of the jobs. I want you to tell me if you'd be interested in the job or not. So you can literally just go through each job and you can tell me if you would like to do that job or not. So for example, on the food scientist, you could say, I don't want to be a food scientist because, or I do want to be a food scientist because I like to know where my food comes from, or I want to help people that don't have food. And you can just go through each job and tell me. Meteorologist, I would like to be a meteorologist because I think that the weather is so interesting. Or you could say I would not want to be a meteorologist because some of the weather scares me. So you're just going to go through each job and tell me if you would like to do that job or you would not like to do that job and kind of give me a reason why so I know that you learned a little bit about each job, okay? All right, you guys did an awesome job. Thank you.